Hi, Tommy.
Hola, Marta.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great because I have a chance to talk about things I love, books.
Oh, great. So we're going to be doing an interview with you today on your book, and I'm excited for you.
I'm excited myself because you don't have these kinds of opportunities every day.
So where are you from, first of all?
From far away, from Americans' point of view, I'm from Finland, and meaning close to Helsinki. And from your point of view, it means pretty close to Siberia.
Wow, in Finland. I want to go there one day.
You're welcome.
So let's get to your book. This is your book here, Amani. Can you tell us about what Amani means?
Amani means two things. In our world, it means peace. But it's also the starting point in this six-part series, which is located in alternative world, meaning alternative northern China. And it's an island where human beings and all kinds of creatures, human and non-human, try to survive and find out what is messing up their world.
Wow, very cool. So I have a few questions for you.
Cool.
So the first question would be, what are your ambitions for your writing career?
As naive as this sounds, I was inspired by so many great writers in the past that they literally changed my life. And I have this hope of doing the same to at least some people. I want to hook people into this story and maybe other stories in the future, so that people think that, hey, I can do that too, so that they start writing their own stories.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay. So which writers inspire you?
Too many to mention. Of course, the obvious ones like Tolkien and Neil Gaiman and Ursula Le Guin and many science fiction authors. You, of course, Carlos Castaneda, Terry Pratchett, you name it. There are too many to list.
So, okay. So what have you written as far as books and novels, short stories, blogs, awards, or anything of interest?
I have published 3 books so far here in Finland. One is kind of different from this Amani. It's a book of chilies, the chili book, everything about chili because I love hot stuff.
Do you have that book with you?
I do.
Oh, please share it. Oh, cool. Chili Kirja.
Yeah, chili kirja means literally chili book.
Wow. So you like chilies?
I love chilies. And I guess you do too.
I'm Mexican and Scottish, so I like chilies, yes.
Okay. You're a good person then.
Okay, so let's go back to your book here. Where can we buy them? Including in America or Europe, and your links.
When it comes to these fiction books, like Amani is the first part of this 6-part story, at the moment you can pre-order Amani from Amazon and Apple iBooks. And the Finnish versions you can order from many, many places.
So you go to your website and then you can go to read a preview or Apple or Kindle.
That's the easiest way to reach those things because my website is always up to date. Those links should always work. But you can also search for these books directly with Thomas Sand and Amani.
So where can, I'm sorry, what are you working on right now at the minute?
I'm working on the third part of this epic or story, and it's called Pimeys in Finnish, and it will be after a translation called Darkness.
So the third one here.
Yes, that's the one.
Oh.
So besides doing translation and finishing Amani with my absolutely wonderful translator editors, Hanna-Leena Vainio and Tuulia Vihanto, I'm also writing new material all the time.
Now, what genre are your books under?
I hate to put things into boxes, but if I have to put these things into some boxes, I think some pretty correct terms would be dark fantasy and science fiction adventure.
Yeah,
so anyone can guess what those terms mean, but I think they're correct.
I definitely feel there's some mystery to your books.
I hope so, because they're meant to be mysterious among many, many other things. I love to mix up different styles. I love to create multi-layered, complex stories that are still easy to read, but you can always find something new after reading them once. Then the second round, you find something else, and so on.
So what draws you to this genre?
My mind. Because since I'm a night owl, that means I love darkness in a positive way, and I love mysteries. And that combination forces me to write stuff like this.
So how much research do you do?
Enough to feel that every single word I tell is kind of true, even though this is fiction, but I have to believe in everything I write.
Right.
And I want the reader also to believe in what they read. I want them to feel that, hey, this could be real in some other reality. I got this feeling from Lord of the Rings for the first time when I went like, wow, hey, I believe that that world could be true. And
Right.
maybe it is.
Yeah, so you're weaving some AK, what I call AK, accurate information with fantasy. At least that's how I write. Also.
Yes, and that's why I don't call this fantasy or science fiction, because neither term would be completely correct. This is something else, maybe something that has no category at all, which is kind of troublesome, but if that's true, so be it.
You're being honest. You know, there's a level of mystery that can't be labeled.
I believe so, and some of the best books I have ever read are impossible to categorize.
Right.
Like Neil Gaiman's American Gods. Whoever tries to put that book into any box is either lying or, well, doesn't know what he or she is doing.
So, when did you decide to become a writer?
I never decided it. It just happened, and that's the truth. I always loved to write since I was a kid, and eventually I started writing short stories that my friends found sometimes funny, sometimes scary, but anyway, something they asked me to write more about. So I wrote more. And before I knew it, I had published my first book and went like, wow, how did this happen?
Yeah, so you were writing and all of a sudden you got some attention from your friends and family and different people that were saying, what's going on here?
Yeah, it was never planned in any way. It just happened.
So do you know why you write?
Yeah, I know. Besides trying to inspire other people who love stories, I would go crazy if I didn't do this. Because no matter what I do, those ideas and stories, they creep into my mind.
Right.
And then my mind fills up with those ideas and characters and things. And if I don't let them out, my head will explode. That's the truth.
Yeah, I mean, it's the life of an artist that needs to express.
Yeah, it's the same with music.
Yeah.
If you have a song in your head, you have to play it.
Right. So what made you decide to actually sit down and actually start something? Because there's so many people that they want to do something but they just can't, or they're saying I'll write my novel tomorrow. That there's no it's like they're blocked from even starting. So what made you decide to actually just do it?
Yeah, I know what you mean. And every single time these days when I hear somebody saying that, hey, I have this idea, and especially if I see that it's a great idea, and they say that, hey, I don't have time, maybe when I'm 60 years old or something, I want to kick their butts because they're wasting time when they could do something valuable for the world and for themselves.
Right. That's great advice. So just do it, basically.
Yes, just do it when you can.
So do you write full-time or part-time?
Part-time at the moment because here in Finland the market is pretty small, and even though, let's say, top 10 offers earn well, it is hard to earn a living in just this market. Yeah. And this is why I, from the start, decided to go international when the time is right. And now the time, I feel, is right.
The time is right.
We'll see.
So do you have a special time to write, or how is your day structured?
Weirdly. Because I'm a night owl. I love writing after the sun goes down. But it's simple. Whenever I have an idea, that's when I write.
Right.
It could be 5 a.m. in the morning. It could be in the middle of the day. It could be any time. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, at night there's less static noise, so the creativity can. I write really super early in the morning, like 4 o'clock in the morning.
It's a good time, actually. The worst time is probably around noon, because that's when so much things happen that it's not very easy to concentrate.
Yeah, life, like you need a concentration,
Yeah.
peace of mind.
Peace.
So let's see. Do you write 5 days a week? And yeah, is that every day?
I write whenever I can, which means that unless something stops me from writing, I write 7 days a week.
Yeah, that's every day. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that is always my goal.
So do you write on a typewriter or computer? Do you dictate or is it longhand or?
Well, I'm kind of lazy in a way that even though I would love to try writing with a typewriter, I'm using a laptop and a desktop computer
Yeah.
because, well, it makes life easier, but still sometimes I wonder if it would be better to try typewriting.
Yeah, well, typewriters they're impressive because I mean nowadays you can go back and put white out if you mess up. But you
Hmm.
really had to know your stuff when you got to the typewriter. So I think we're missing a little bit of that old school.
Yes, and all those legendary writers of the past, like J.R.R. Tolkien, they didn't have laptops. They used the typewriters and they just typed and typed and typed, and whatever mistakes they made, they had to live with them.
Amazing. Yeah, it's
It
phenomenal.
is amazing.
So where do your ideas come from?
Where my ideas come from? Many people have asked me that, very many people, but I have no idea. They just appear to my mind. And the most irritating answer I can give is they come from the universe.
Right. So I mean, do you work with a plot, or do you just go where the ideas are taking you?
I don't plan a lot. I try to plan as little as I can when I'm doing the writing part of the story. Editing is another thing. But since stories, they have this tendency of going their own way, no matter how you plan and what you plot.
Right.
Well, it's a waste of time trying to force the story into something that
Right.
won't go like that.
So do you think that you've evolved creatively?
Yeah, I make less mistakes these days, at least big and stupid mistakes, and I write faster than before.
So what was the hardest thing about writing your latest book?
Well, it's about the complexity of writing a six-part story. It means that the story world is huge. You
Right.
can ask, for example, Mr. Martin about Game of Thrones, or if Tolkien was still alive, you could ask him about how difficult it was for him to
Right.
do his stuff. So every single book becomes more filled with different characters, different species of animals and plants, different new lands and so on. So keeping track, trying to remain sane with all that, that's the challenge. And I'm already feeling that pressure quite heavily. And that's why I have invented some tools of my own. I could call one tool an encyclopedia of my my story world, where I describe everything from even drinks people in those lands drink,
Cool.
so that I know what is what and so on.
Yeah. So what is the easiest thing you write about?
I find writing easy, and it's the less you think about it, the more you just let it go, the easier it gets. So I just let it go.
So how long does it take you to write a book?
It depends, because my first book took embarrassingly long time. Well, something like 15 years from the first idea I had.
Yeah,
And
it's
it is a long time. And the second book, the sequel to that, that was, depending on how you count it, maybe 6 years. And now this third one, I think it's going to take less than 2 years.
right.
So something is evolving.
Yeah, that's how it was with my books. It was 10 years. Then the
Yeah.
second one was 6 years. The third one was 2 years, and the fourth one was, just 3 months. Yeah, so
This 3 months is not much.
it's kind of cool. You just kind of you get more confident, I guess.
Yes, you get more confident, and you don't have to spend time in useless things as much as before. So you
Right,
can concentrate on the story.
right. So do you ever get writer's block?
As strange as it seems and is, so far I haven't faced it. And I have some kind of a technique to prevent that from happening.
Oh yeah, what's the technique?
It is very simple, because I have noticed that most people, most writers who have this block, they plan what they do very heavily. And
Right,
since stories have mind of their own, at some point it's inevitable that the story decides that, hey, I'm not following your plan. And then those poor writers, they get confused that, hey, this doesn't go my way anymore. What shall I do?
right,
But if that happens, and when that happens, you can always do something else. You can write another book, or you can start writing the last chapter of your book. Anything, because you always have something you can write about. And when you're doing that, your mind tends to solve the problem, and you can return to the original point.
so then how do you get through the writer's block?
Mm, that way, you just do something else for a while, and then you realize that, hey, now I know what to do.
Right, so you kind of you don't allow yourself to get stuck on one thing, basically.
No, and that's why I have this crazy habit of having at least, at the moment, I'm writing 5 books at the same time. Only, only one of them now actively.
Right,
But if I get stuck or bored with that one, I can always go to the other books and go like, hey, this is cool. And after that, I return to the original main book.
so then is this book part of series?
Yeah, it's the series is called Kant, and yeah, it's a weird name, I know, but it's a 6-part story. And there's a typo, by the way, on that page. It used to be the last one, but now it's the real name is Kant.
And this is the fifth one.
This is the last one. This series has four how to say, books that follow each other. They form a story that happens in our time, in this moment. But the last books on that list, Forest and Kant, they belong to a different era, 2000 years earlier. And those books reveal the backgrounds of some key characters and key places that happen in Amani, for example.
So, do you like reading, like what do you prefer? Do you like ebooks or traditional hardback or paperback books?
Give me any good book in any form and I love it. It doesn't really matter.
So you're comfortable with both formats?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what books are you reading right now at the present moment?
A book about Bruce Springsteen and a book from you, The Pearl Thing.
Oh, the Secret Pearl.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
So I have a question about your editing. Do you edit yourself or do you hire people to edit for you?
I do both because these days I've learned to do some editing at the same time as I'm writing. But that wouldn't work. It wouldn't produce professional output. So now I have two translator editors, Hanna-Lena and Tuulia, who are excellent in finding all the stuff I can't see. And they make sure that nothing goes through that isn't perfect.
Yeah, we need our editors, right?
We do, but there's also some other people involved in this process, like an professional editor from UK and so on. So it's kind of like a family of people who share the same passion.
Good. So tell us about your cover and how it came about.
It's a strange story because this cover is actually a photograph I shot in China around 2010. A friend of mine had invited me to the place called Kagnan, which is close to a bigger city, Wenzhou. But it was in the middle of nowhere. You couldn't find that place even in Google Maps. It didn't exist in any maps. But when my friend took me around there, it was a beautiful, beautiful place. There was this magical moment when I realized that, hey, this place is from my book.
Yeah, it's really cool. So
and then I
there's
started
no
shooting photos. Not only, sorry.
Is there a Google map now?
Yeah, now you can find Kangnan. It's a pretty big city, but in China, you know, everything is big, even places you can find on maps.
Cool.
But all the pictures in my books, especially in Amani, were shot in China and then just treated in a way that they became true pictures of this story.
Right. Cool. So how are you publishing your book? Is it indie or traditional, or are you doing both?
I have experienced both ways. My Chile book was published by a large traditional publisher. And for that book, it worked pretty well. But these fiction books, I wanted to be able to control everything in the process.
Right.
So I went self-publishing way, at least for now.
Right.
because that meant I can change the cover or whatever I like anytime, and nobody will tell me that, hey, you can't do that,
Right.
or I don't have to wait for 2 months to some change to appear.
Yeah, so what do you think the main advantages or disadvantages of self-publishing versus the publishing?
I think in the end they're equal,
Uh-huh.
because freedom, self-publishing gives you, once you experience it, you don't want to lose it.
Right.
But it also means that you have to, and you can learn everything about both writing and publishing. I find it exciting.
Yeah.
But for people who don't want to, for example, learn how to edit book covers, well, I had good help with my covers, but anyway, if you don't want to learn those things, then it's easier to go the traditional way.
Right.
And also the marketing parts can be easier that way, but not necessarily.
Right.
Because these days, as you know, it's not guaranteed at all that traditional publishers market your book at all.
Right. Right.
But you're still imprisoned by the contract. And that's what I fear.
Yeah, so so there's it seems that there's advantages and disadvantages for both.
Yes, absolutely. And if somebody asks me which way they should go, I can't really tell. It's all about what you're willing to learn and do and what not. Either way can be a successful or a failure.
Right, right. So what are your thoughts on good reviews and bad reviews?
Both good reviews and bad reviews can be good or bad. A good review can make you sing and dance and go like, hey, somebody understands me. I love it, I love it, I love it. I want to write 10 new books. But a bad good review just gives you impression of you doing an excellent job, even if you don't. But with bad books, bad reviews, I mean, it's the same, because even though some bad reviews are just cruel for some reason, and some reviewers don't understand what you're writing,
Right.
that's okay. That's okay, because you can't please everyone.
Yeah.
But good, bad reviews may reveal something about your story that you or your friends or anyone around you didn't notice, and you can improve your writing.
So it's like good criticism versus bad criticism.
Yeah, it's always good if it helps you to become a better writer.
Right. And you just have to look at the intent, I guess.
Yeah, and
Is the intent to tear you down as a writer, as a person, to tear down your self-esteem, or is the intent to make you a better person because they care, they actually care about you? So
it's also a test of self-esteem, self-confidence, and ego, because if the first bad words somebody tells you about your book make you go crying and I'll never write again.
oh, I know it happened.
You have a problem.
It happens, and I've known people that they just won't do something again because they just got the backlash.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah, but also what I have found is that if you persevere and you continue, you just go on to the next thing, and you go on to the next thing, and it's like the naysayers will kind of just back off.
Yeah, it's funny. Some famous books, very famous bestsellers, have received awful reviews in the beginning. But when they sell well, then everyone is admiring them and saying that, hey, I believed in that guy from the start.
Right, right.
It's
Yeah.
in music, I guess.
Yeah, that's what my mentor said. You know, the ones that said she'll never make it are the same ones that are going to say, I knew she would make it.
Yes, that's how it is.
Okay, so what are your views on social media?
Social media is in constant change at the moment. And it's a tricky thing because it used to be your free lunch into marketing, especially Facebook.
Uh,
But Facebook is far from being a free lunch these days. They tell you to pay and pay and pay and pay more. Otherwise, you just don't get likes and visibility.
right.
And that's really a problem if you want to use social media. But
Yeah,
still, I think it's essential for especially self-publishers. You can use Twitter as well. It works for some people I know.
well,
But
you know, there's so many social medias that go up and down. I mean, look at MySpace,
yeah,
and now it's gone. So, you know,
yes,
tomorrow there might be a better, bigger type of social media that everyone's using, and that'll be a free platform
yeah,
again.
always. But that's another skill you have to learn, and not only learn, but keep yourself up to date all the time. See the trends and talk to people who are specialists in that.
Right, right. So, what social network actually works best for you?
At the moment, it's Facebook for me, but I think I'm going to change my focus more towards some other platforms like Twitter. But in order for Twitter to work, you have to have quite a lot of fans and followers.
Right.
And I have my share of followers already in Facebook, but still it hasn't been felt very natural to me. But one day, especially when going international, you just have to be available in all those main channels.
So, what tips on what to do and what not to do as far as social media goes?
What to do? When you go to social media, you have to be active. It's the same with blogs too. It's no good if you just update your page or messages once a month or so. People get bored. People forget you.
Mhm.
So if you start it, you have to continue it maybe daily or at least weekly. That's the minimum, I think.
Yes, good
But
advice. Some
but
people do it, you know, all the time. And that's
yeah, but you can also bother people too much. Mm.
exactly.
And that's especially with Facebook.
Uh-huh.
And really, Facebook is a dangerous place in a sense because it is very possible to piss off your friends. And yeah, you can do that easily when every time they open their browser, they see, let's say, something about Amani by Thomas Sand. And even though some might love it, 9 out of 10 would hate it. And you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, there's haters for sure, but what can you do? You're being creative and you're following your dream.
But
And people that are with you will be with you, and the other ones, let them go on their merry way.
that is
Just writing
true.
about other things too.
Yeah, but it's always about relevance of what you message. Every single Twitter or Instagram or Facebook message has to have some meat around the bones. It has to have a meaning.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just a waste of everyone's time.
Right, right, right. So, are there any marketing techniques that you've used that had an immediate impact on your sales figures?
So far, the best thing I found out with my ebook publisher in Finland, Elisa Books or Elisa Kirja,
Yeah.
was to do some campaigns. So they advertised my books and bundled them together with a discount price, and suddenly I noticed that the sales skyrocketed.
So, bundle means,
Means selling, for example, my first two books together, maybe
oh,
two for the price of one.
I see, I see. So, what you're doing is kind of selling one and then giving the other one as a gift,
Yeah,
discount.
yeah, and that's a part of the larger trend that people want to get everything creative for free, sadly.
Well, it's also, it adds value. It's smart. So you're kind of hitting both sides.
Yeah, and I don't mind giving one book for free if somebody buys the other one, because since this is a six-part story, if they like those two first books, chances are that they will buy the last four ones as well.
So did you make any marketing mistakes, or is there anything that you would avoid in the future?
Paying too much to Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, really. Facebook is a problem to me, and I think to many people, because in order to get any meaningful results there, you have to pay a lot, which means that especially for beginning self-publishers, it's possible that you spend more paying to Facebook than you earn from the sales.
Right.
I did that mistake for a while, but then I talked to some experts and learned how to do it the right way.
Yeah, yeah. So what do you think the other, why do you think that other well-written books don't sell?
It's the same problem as with music. It's about discovery. So people can't buy your works if they're not aware of it.
Yeah. So
and
exposure.
these days, especially now when you can self-publish both music and books and many things, there's so much stuff going on that it's close to impossible to find the right works for you. And that's a problem that I think will partly be solved in near future with artificial intelligence, learning, self-learning search services, and so on. But
So
right now it is a problem.
do you think that giving books for free works, and why?
It works if you want to ruin your reputation and your book business and everything. Because in the end, when it comes to music and books and arts overall, it is all about respect. Respect towards the artists. And who respects something that costs nothing? Like I would shoot myself before having, for example, Lord of the Rings for free, because I respect Tolkien too much to ever do that. But after said that, I really believe in giving good free samples of books. Like Amani will be around 600 pages long. So I don't mind giving people, say, 100 pages to read for free. Because I know myself as a reader, if I'm hooked into a story after reading 100 pages, there is no chance in the world I won't buy it, the rest of the book as well. It works.
So then what is your favorite book?
Oh, so many of them, so many of them. But of course, I would be crazy not to mention Lord of the Rings, because that started my imagination when I was a kid.
Yeah.
When I traveled by bus to my university, for example, later, I saw visions from Middle Earth without even thinking about it. So it had changed my mind. But about good books, the Earthsea series by Ursula Le Guin.
So is that your favorite film also?
Yes, Lord of the Rings is probably the extended version. That's important. I think it's the best film ever made, for my time at least.
I love it too.
Yeah.
So, what do you see? How do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Writing more books if I'm lucky.
Right.
Yes, and write some more.
Write some more. What advice would you give your younger self?
I could have been more confident, listened less to some people who told me that, hey, you can never make it. Nobody can make it as a writer, and you're not up to it. And I would act faster. I would just go for it and not think too much or hesitate.
Man, it's just like ignore the naysayers and just follow.
That's difficult, but it's absolutely necessary not to listen to people who say you can't do that.
Yeah, so ignoring the 90%, basically.
Yep.
So let's see. What advice would you give to younger writers? Is that part of it?
I think I would give them the same advice. Just go for it, no matter what. Because if you have a story to tell, you just tell it so that when you're 70 years old, you don't have to wonder, why didn't I write my book? You just do it and see what happens. There's nothing to lose.
Right. That's good advice. So where do you see publishing going in the future?
That's kind of impossible to tell. I've been researching social media and the music industry and also book industry for many years in my day job, and it's a mess right now. Just like music industry didn't know what to do with internet, and still doesn't know what to do with it very well. This publishing industry follows some years behind music in that. So my best guess at the moment is that we're going to see some hybrid services which combine the best, hopefully the best sides of traditional publishing and self-publishing. And it's also very possible that we're going to see some networked ways to connect translators, editors, graphical artists, and writers. It's going to be exciting to see.
Yeah, hybrid.
Hybrid.
Sounds like your next book.
So you think that should be part 7 of my series? Maybe.
So, okay, so let's just go through this one more time. So anyone that's listening to this video or watching this video can go and and buy your books. This is your website, T.H. Sand, Thomas Sand.
Yes.
And on your website, they can get your order. They can get your books.
Yes, and it's always, it's going to be up to date always, so that you will find new links when new channels become available and so on. And besides, you find some extra information there under the maps and
here on this.
Yeah, you can do that too. But this maps and images section, there's a lot of stuff about this world, this story world, places, information, pictures, maps, like this map you're seeing now. Because that was, I think, the first map I ever drew and painted by watercolor. And it was the start of, kind of the start of my Finnish version of Amani.
Right. Cool.
You can have tens of maps like I do, and they all have some magic that helps you to know what is going on and where.
I like it. I am ready to read your book. I just purchased it. And when the other ones come out, I will do another interview.
That sounds very nice. And since there has been interest from Spanish world as well, I definitely plan to release these books in Spanish when possible. And well, who knows? Maybe you might.
Sí, señor, lo hacemos en español. I think your books would do great there in the Latin community.
I hope so. And since I myself like Latin culture very much, it would be a great honor for me to find some nice readers from your world.
I'm excited for you. So let's talk soon, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Marta.
Okay, adios.
Adios, Marta.